This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
The fight against coronavirus continues as death toll reaches 724. A survivor's story, a man who recovered from the new coronavirus shares his experience. And the Antarctic Peninsula reports the highest temperature on record. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to you live from Nairobi. I'm Hanna Viviers and I'll be with you for the next half hour. Here are more stories making headlines. AU launches a $1 billion Africa Women Leadership Fund to support women's enterprises. And in your sport news, Federer and Nadal raised $3.5 million in an historic match in South Africa. We begin with the coronavirus outbreak and news of the first confirmed non-Chinese victim of the illness, an American citizen who died in Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. The death toll from the virus is now at 724, with the total number of confirmed infections in China now surpassing 34,000. The good news is that over 2,000 people have recovered and the number of new suspected cases has dropped for 2 consecutive days. More than half of the confirmed cases and most of the deaths are in Hubei province, where the epidemic originated. Guangdong and Zhejiang provinces are the most affected areas, with each reporting more than 1,000 cases. Beijing and Shanghai, 2 of China's major cities, have reported close to 300 cases each. The virus has spread to 24 other countries, with a total of nearly 300 confirmed cases outside of China. Wuhan's purpose-built hospital for treating coronavirus is now receiving its first transfer of patients. It is one of the 2 newly built facilities dedicated to those infected. It houses 1,600 beds and includes isolation wards, an examination wing, and rest area for medical workers. The 22-hectare hospital was built in just 10 days. Our reporter, Jia Yunfei, takes us inside for a look.
This is a very warm ward. So we're entering from the patient's corridor. So this is the ward. And there are 2 beds available. And this is their washroom over here. Let me shut the door for you. Now let's exit from the doctor's corridor. So it looks like this is a buffer zone. It's cooler, actually. But if we exit over here, so now we're actually in the middle of the building where the doctors and nurses will walk through this building. You can see that from the window, you can see the doctors are doing the last-minute preparation over here. And in this room, they're changing their protection gears. They have already put on their protection gear. Look, so this is a very interesting do-or-door system. If you want to pass something, you can actually open the door from this side and put something over here, and then you shut the door, and the patients from the other side will be able to get that after a period of time of disinfection. And this is the most comfortable zone over here. Oh, it looks like it's connected to Wi-Fi. The TV, it looks like they have many different options for the doctors and nurses. So there are basically 15 patient wards in total. 1,500 patient beds in total. And each 2 patients will share one room, 1 patient ward. But tonight, there are only 70 patients that will be transferred to this hospital. So this is just part of the Leishanshan Hospital. They basically still have 3 more days, 2 to 3 more days to completely finish the construction.
Thousands have recovered from the virus in China. One patient spoke to CGTN's Xu Mingyi about the ordeal of beating the virus and his road to recovery.
When it was confirmed that I had it, I was shocked. I thought to myself it couldn't be possible because, for one thing, I had not visited the Huanan seafood market, and also I lived so far away from it. If I didn't see the lab result myself, I would not have believed it.
46-year-old Mr. Yang was Zhejiang province's first recovery story from the novel coronavirus pneumonia when he was discharged from a hospital in the city of Wenzhou January the 24th. He had returned to Wenzhou from Wuhan on January the 3rd, but his hospitalization was for something else.
I was first hospitalized because I broke one of my ribs from falling. I didn't know I had pneumonia. After a week of treatment, my doctor got concerned. He thought it was strange that the anti-inflammatory drugs were not working on me. Then I told him I came back from Wuhan and I was immediately quarantined.
2 weeks after Yang was discharged, the hospital had him re-examined.
Actually, during these 2 weeks, we checked up on him every day by phone to make sure he was doing fine. Today, we asked him to come over to take another chest CT scan, a regular blood test, a test for his liver function, as well as a pathology test for the novel coronavirus.
I'm feeling pretty good. I was panting and coughing when I was ill, but not now.
Symptoms, however, aren't Yang's only concern. As he found out, it will take much longer to win back his friends and neighbors.
In my village, when people see me, it's as if they have seen a monster, and they are so scared. I got so many calls asking me to stay at home, and that food and necessities will be delivered to my door. This is how it's been for the last 2 weeks. So one of the main reasons that I came to do the checkup today is to let people know I have fully recovered.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has commended China's effort in fighting the novel coronavirus pneumonia. Talking to journalists on the sidelines of the African Union summit, Guterres also said that stigma against China due to the virus's spread was inappropriate.
It is clear that there is a massive effort that is making by China in order to contain the disease and to avoid its propagation, and I think that that effort is remarkable. The Chinese themselves recognize that the dimension is such that there are some handicaps and some problems that have to be addressed, but we are also at the same time committed through the World Health Organization to support all countries, namely African countries, in order to develop the capacities necessary to contain the disease when it propagates to other countries in the world. And it's also important to avoid any form of stigmatization.
South Africa is one of the many countries on the continent supporting China's fight against the novel coronavirus pneumonia. The country's health minister also added that South Africa had been receiving regular feedback from China.
So far as the WHO was concerned, they did not recommend ban on trade and traveling, and therefore on that basis South Africa took a view to say, let's be cautious, let's just work with China to see how the disease is panning out, and then for now not evacuate South Africans who are in China, and let's give ourselves a few days to look at how the disease is actually behaving. And so we were quite satisfied with the fact that we could get regular feedback from China, from our embassy in China, from the Chinese authorities, particularly about the conditions of people in Wuhan, as well as also the spread of the disease generally.
Well, here at CGTN Africa, we've been doing our best to give you the latest on the NCP outbreak. CGTN's Beatrice Marshall and Douglas Okwach took a break from covering the 33rd AU Summit to visit Ethiopia's national broadcaster. They were featured on a segment highlighting China's fight against the novel coronavirus pneumonia. Beatrice Marshall, one of CGTN's Africa's anchors, discussed the immense support African countries have given to China, while CGTN's Douglas Okwach urged the world to offer support, not condemnation, to China. He also called on countries to follow WHO's guidelines and avoid drastic actions which could trigger panic. We move to Kenya now, where President Uhuru Kenyatta led thousands of mourners paying tribute to the late former President Daniel Arap Moi. Long queues were seen on Saturday as Kenyans turned up to view his body. Moi's body lies in state at the Parliament's building. Public viewing will continue for the next 2 days, with a state funeral slated for Tuesday. The day has been designated a public holiday. The former leader will be buried in a private ceremony at his Kabarak home on Wednesday. The long-serving president died on Tuesday at the age of 95. He ruled Kenya for 24 years. The highest temperature on record, 18.3 degrees Celsius or about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, has just been logged on the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. The World Meteorological Organization says this is one of the fastest warming regions of the planet. Scientists believe global warming has caused so much melting at the South Pole that the giant ice sheet is now on course to disintegrate. They say this would lead to a significant rise in sea levels in the future. Time now for us to take a show break and return. The AU launches a $1 billion Africa Women Leadership Fund to support women's enterprises. And we take you to one county in Kenya reeling from locust invasion.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. Well, the African Union has launched the Africa Women Leadership Fund. Through an agreement between the UN Economic Commission for Africa and Standard Bank, women on the continent will be able to access financing for their businesses. The fund will be up to $1 billion. Leaders attending the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa witnessed the launch and have called for more action to support women.
We are now here today, this morning, to call upon all of you in this room to support, to adopt this declaration and declare the new African Women Decade, and to mandate the office of the chairperson to develop with all speed the implementation modalities and the roadmap to finally ensure the economic empowerment of women at all levels.
Women need action and not statements and speeches in order to enable these women on a daily basis to live and to make us live, because they are the ones who take care of the African families. It is for this reason that we think that by launching the decade of 2020-2030, and we want the financial inclusion of the African women.
Kenya is reeling from a locust invasion described as the worst in 70 years. And there's no end in sight. The government has deployed chemical spraying aircraft, but the locusts continue to devastate vegetation and farmland. The United Nations is appealing for $70 million to tackle the problem, but as CGTN's Robert Nagila reports, more challenges lie ahead.
Using sticks, screaming, and clapping, residents of Gatunga in eastern Kenya attempt to scare away desert locusts from their farmlands, an exercise in futility.
Nothing is left except some leaves.
Residents here say the swarm of locusts arrived in the area at about 11 o'clock Wednesday morning, and more than 24 hours later, they're still here. Their impact devastating. It's the worst locust invasion in 70 years. The insects entered Kenya from Somalia and Ethiopia last December and have now spread to 15 counties in north, eastern and central Kenya. Drone aerial footage shows the destruction caused by the locusts on crops and vegetation here in Gatunga, Tharaka Nithi County. Experts say in a single day, the insects can eat its weight in food and travel close to 100 miles. A local administrator says the entire county has been affected.
It is about 266 square kilometers. I think it is the biggest location in Kenya.
And their troubles are far from over. A closer look reveals the locusts are mating. Millions have already started laying eggs, meaning, under the right conditions, another generation of breeding will increase their numbers. The United Nations says it requires about $70 million to tackle the locust plague in East Africa.
I hope we can get some money, some resource at this critical time. Before March, it's a very critical time.
The Kenyan government has deployed 9 aircraft to spray chemicals in affected areas. But swarms of locusts, sometimes in their tens of millions, are wreaking havoc over huge swaths of land before the aircraft can arrive. And until that intervention arrives here in Tharaka Nithi, screaming and shouting is the only recourse for these farmers, without much success. Wabat Nagila, CGTN, Tharaka Nithi, Kenya.
And after a continued coverage of the unfolding humanitarian situation in Burkina Faso, CGTN's Penina Karibe has been highlighting the plight of hundreds of people displaced by jihadist attacks. She now takes a closer look at the impact of the violence on learning activities in the West African country.
The violence in northern Burkina Faso has taken a heavy toll on the local population, but especially vulnerable are these little ones. They have had to endure horrifying experiences, one that led them, their parents and caregivers being displaced. And yet, life must go on, which means trying to get an education whichever way possible. Before the arrival of the IDPs, this school had registered 600 students. Now that number has doubled, extremely stretching the school's resources. The teachers have had to come up with creative ways to accommodate the extra numbers. One of those is the use of open spaces such as this one, but that has left these little children exposed to the elements. It's the Harmattan season here in West Africa. The gusty winds are blowing in huge volumes of dust. Regardless, learning continues. This is a makeshift class catering for over 100 children.
The furniture is not enough. The children are sharing, 6 per bench.
I think in total we have 100 learning kits in the whole school. So imagine if we have 200 pupils in one class sharing 33 books.
The learning environment is quite difficult for both the pupils and teachers.
The challenge is knowing each and every child, understanding them so that I'm able to teach them well. Those that are traumatized, we talk to them, we encourage them and motivate them.
And there is concern also about the welfare of these children once they leave the school compound.
We don't know if they have eaten at home or not. At midday, they go home. We don't know the conditions in which they are living. All this is affecting their performance.
There used to be one school here, but because of the swelling enrollments due to the displacements, another school had to be established.
We have an obligation to help them despite the challenges, because if we don't help them, we are creating more problems for the children.
Life has not dealt these children a fair chance of getting a proper upbringing, and yet they remain full of life, grabbing at every opportunity to better their future prospects. Penina Karibe, CGTN, in Kaya, Burkina Faso.
Zimbabwe recently broke ground at the site of a planned all-female open prison 70 kilometers east of the capital, Harare. It will become the country's second such prison, which allows inmates to visit their homes, learn new skills, all as part of efforts to rehabilitate and prepare them for life after their sentences. Farai Mokatuya has more from the Midlands province of Zimbabwe.
Inmates Simon Chimbudzi and Netsai Shua are walking out of prison. But this isn't a jailbreak. They are going to work in the vegetable gardens that feed the prison. A fellow inmate is doing a client's hair while others carve wooden artifacts. Just another day at Zimbabwe's one-of-a-kind correctional facility,
where the guard towers aren't manned and this security fence is more to demarcate the compound's perimeter than to keep anyone from trying to escape.
Connemara is an open prison. There are no regimented schedules and no uniforms for both guards and inmates.
We want to try and humanize the inmates so that you cannot see the difference, but the difference is there. I am the boss and he is a serving inmate, but our relationship is just signed. We normally use the terms mbuya, sekuru mzukuru, so that the aunt, cousin, nephew and all those things. So just to show that there's no the word prisoner, there is no any other word that you can use except to say my aunt, my uncle.
Inmates also get to go home on some weekends and holidays.
Last Christmas, I was in my rural village and slaughtered a beast for my family. Home visits have helped me to start putting my affairs in order before I am released.
Chimbudzi has 14 months left on a 12-year sentence. Leaving a few months after him will be Rizen Mare, who spent his time at Connemara studying leather technology at a nearby technical college.
So this is part of rehabilitation that we are doing, preparing myself to suit well in the community when I get back after serving my sentence. So I think I'm going to start my own business. There's no need for me to look for employment anywhere else.
If his plans work out, he'll add to the growing success stories of a correctional system that's set to be extended to women whose own open prison is due to be built near the capital soon. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Kwekwe, Zimbabwe.
Your sports news is coming up after the break. Federer and Nadal raised $3.5 million in an historic match in South Africa.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Time now for your sports news. The 6th edition of Match in Africa, where tennis legend Roger Federer defeated his counterpart Spaniard Rafael Nadal, broke the record for the largest number of spectators to ever watch a tennis match. The historic match held in Cape Town was even more special for Federer, whose mother is South African. CGTN's Renee Delcom brings us the story.
Both Federer and Nadal have devoted fans in Africa, so it was no surprise that tickets for this long-awaited match in Cape Town was sold out within minutes of going on sale a few months ago.
Long overdue, it's about time. We could not wait for this. That's why when ticket sales opened, I think we were some of the first ones to book tickets. This is really exciting for us, and I think for everyone in South Africa as well.
We've actually bought our tickets in Namibia because we're from there, so we've traveled all the way from Namibia, and we're very excited because we have to go back tomorrow. So we are very, very excited for this game.
And the two tennis greats did not disappoint. They launched into an exciting rally, which had the record-breaking crowd of nearly 52,000 spectators on the edge of their seats. After 3 tough sets, Federer won the match 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 and described it as a magical
unforgettable night.
So many emotions, so many incredible feelings for me, and yeah, we have it here, 51,945 people in attendance at a tennis match. I never thought I was going to be part of something like that, to be honest. It's not something you dream about. These things just all of a sudden happen.
Super happy to be playing here in Cape Town for the first time in my life. Thanks, Roch, and all the family and team for creating this amazing event. One of these lifetime experiences, without a doubt. And yeah, can't thank enough the people here in Cape Town.
Creating a dream like this in a place where I have my roots, and I'm so proud that I have my roots here in South Africa. I don't know, it's very special on so many levels.
But the biggest winners of the night were the children's charities in sub-Saharan Africa, which will benefit from the $3.5 million raised at this historic, record-breaking match in Africa. Renadal Calm, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
We cross over to the English Premier League, where Everton have secured 3 points at home against Crystal Palace. The hosts dominated the first half and deservedly took the lead after 18 minutes through Bernard's volley following a superb Theo Walcott cross. Palace fought back after the break and equalised through Christian Bentancur's low strike in the 51st minute. The home side were, however, not done as they went 2-1 up thanks to Richardson's goal 7 minutes later. Dominic Calvert-Lewin sealed victory in the 88th minute to see Everton move to the 7th place on the table. The victory now sees Everton extend their unbeaten run to 5 games. Well, in tennis news, Carlos Suarez Navarro defeated Kurumi Nara in straight sets 6-1, 6-3 on Saturday as Spain sealed their place in April's inaugural Fed Cup finals in Budapest with a 3-love victory over Japan. Suarez Navarro followed up on a world number 78 Sara Tormo's win over Naomi Osaka a day earlier. Spain took an unexpected lead over Japan in the tie in Cartagena after Tormo capitalized on a careless performance from Osaka, who made an astonishing 50 unforced errors in the 15 games.
Yeah, I play a really good match. For us was really important win this match, and we have the goal to be in Budapest, and we finally make it. So the whole team is very happy.
Well, that's it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can send your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. From me, Hanna Viviers, and the rest of the Africa Live team, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.